Planet of Lana was one of my top 10 games of 2023. The Ghibli-inspired visuals, fantastic score, and endearing story were only occasionally held back by some obtuse puzzles and sluggish movement. I was thrilled to see the sequel revealed during Summer Games Fest 2025, and I couldn't wait to dive back into this beautiful world Wishfully has created. Thanks to the Thunderful Insiders program, I'm here on behalf of Drop In Drop Out to share my thoughts on Planet of Lana 2: Children of the Leaf. Our story picks up a few years after the conclusion of the first game. Lana and Elo's village has been rebuilt, and they seem to be living in relative harmony with the pacified machines and other creatures of Novo. But disaster soon strikes, sending Lana and Mui to previously unseen areas of the planet to save the day and learn more about themselves and their world along the way. As the game opened, I was immediately drawn back into a familiar feeling of warmth. The visuals feel even more vibrant now than they did 3 years ago, and Takashi Furukawa's score is just as beautiful as I'd remembered. Practically everything I loved about the original game in 2023 was brought forward to the sequel in equal or even greater measure. Unfortunately, everything I took issue with in the original game was brought to the sequel as well, making for an overall good but honestly baffling experience. But first, the positives. Planet of Lana 2 wastes no time when it comes to Lana and Mui's abilities. Their tag team ability to disable and then take over enemy machinery is here from the beginning, along with Mui's ability to take control of small creatures. These creatures all have their own unique abilities as well, which are necessary to solve puzzles, overcome environmental obstacles, or make your way past hostile wildlife. Each of the new regions you explore are absolutely stunning. Snowy mountains, vast underwater expanses, and lush forests are all beautifully realized with their own distinct feel when it comes to the types of wildlife and puzzles you come across. For example, there may be thick webbing blocking your path as you make your way through the mountain, requiring you to control a little fuzzy guy to leave a flammable trail behind you to the obstacle. Meanwhile, the ocean setting will have you controlling inkfish to obscure Lana's path from massive electrical fish who attack on sight. It can feel a little video gamey if you think too hard on how there just happens to be a school of inkfish nearby every time you need to get past one of those electrical fish, but that's showbiz, baby. In terms of story, I was pleasantly surprised and delighted to get to learn more about Mui as well as the humans' history with the planet Novo. It was quite a stunning twist in the first game to learn that the humans and machines had not only coexisted in the past, but arrived to this planet together, so getting some more insight into that history was exciting. Some of the other aspects of the story, though, were less exciting. The inciting incident for this game's plot didn't feel quite as solid as the first game, which was admittedly a pretty high bar. When the first one kicks off with Lana's sister and other members of their village being carried away in cages by a bunch of machines, how do you top that for a sequel? The answer, I guess, is that you don't. But you can at least do something different. And to its credit, the inciting incident does make perfect sense for why Lana is going to all these new places we didn't see the first time around. While you're globetrotting, those issues of sluggishness from the first game are more apparent than ever. I can't even tell you how many times I got zapped by an enemy machine because Lana's jumping and climbing takes far too long to execute. And that's assuming you're facing the exact right direction to begin with. Otherwise, you'll be left floundering or dying and having to try all over again. I also ran into an issue multiple times where, if my thumbstick wasn't pointed at a perfect 90 degrees, Lana would dive beneath the water only to immediately turn around and resurface. As much as I appreciate the variety of critters we're able to control with Mui's powers, the game doesn't properly explain how to control their powers. The in-game prompt will often just tell you to hold a button to use the special ability, but doesn't bother telling you that some critters need you to hold then release the button, while others only require you to hold it down. For comparison, Mui's ability only requires you to hold the button down before it automatically triggers, so I spent to collect a few minutes across my runtime simply trying to figure out how to control a new critter. But, somewhat ironically, where I truly felt a bit lost was the game's intentional vagueness about the narrative itself. There's something beautiful about a narrative that is left up to interpretation. Planet of Lana 1 did this, as have other fan favorites like Grease and Inside. Video games, like all art, are able to provide the audience with stories that can be interpreted and internalized in many different ways, none of which are inherently right or wrong. This works best in games with a smaller scope, or at least one that's more focused. We all see and can agree upon the major events, but the finer details can mean something different to each of us. By broadening the scope for Planet of Lana 2, Wishfully has given the player even more character interactions and narrative moments to take in and interpret in our own ways, but the end result is a story that feels less defined. In fact, the Steam description gives more definition and clarity to the game's premise than playing the actual game. As strange as it sounds, that lack of clarity still had the intended result, an experience that was defined by my own interpretation. For better or worse, Planet of Lana 2 carries over much of the experience of the first game. But despite its shortcomings, the beauty on display was undeniable. Lana's relationships are tested almost as much as her own resolve, making for a natural continuation of the sci-fi coming-of-age story the first game began. While there are some repeated scenarios, the unique challenges that come with each change in scenery help to keep things from feeling too monotonous. If you're a fan of the first game, or you're looking for a new narrative puzzle game to sink your teeth into, go ahead and drop into Planet of Lana 2 when it launches on March 5th. But if you're looking for an experience that truly evolves the gameplay of the first, or you prefer your stories and themes to be more clear-cut, you may want to drop out. Thank you once again to our friends at Thunderful for this opportunity. Let us know in the comments if you're planning on experiencing this next step in Lana and Mui's adventures. Until next time, thanks for dropping in.